Education to order. Thank you for the Hub and Gainesville High School for having us. First item on the agenda are the district recognitions, which obviously focus on Gainesville High. Mr. Green, would you like to come tell us a little bit about the Teacher of the Year for Gainesville High School?
Well, I'm honored to present the Gainesville High School Teacher of the Year, Ms. Christy Smith. I can do that. Been told out loud. Ms. Christy Smith teaches English as a second or other language and social studies, and serves a hospital homebound students. In each of those capacities, she's known for her caring but firm demeanor, her support of our students, her knowledge of her content, and her excitement for joining in the celebrations of our students. She works with many students who are new to the United States and new to learning English while delivering content. She pays equal attention to both, knowing that part of her role is to support students in all areas that our district mission requires of us. That is to inspire, to nurture, challenge, and to prepare our students. Come to a school event and you'll see Ms. Smith there, whether it's athletics, fine arts, or just a club activity. She's there supporting her students. She goes above and beyond to communicate with parents and families and to support them. But a number of times I've been in Ms. Smith's room and she receives a call or a text from a parent, and she's attentive, she responds, and the parents appreciate it. I often call her before they call me. Many students come to her for matters beyond the classroom and continue to come to her for her counsel, her wisdom, long after they've completed her class. Many of them will call her with questions. Many of them are calling just to catch her. She truly does build lifelong relations with her students, with her parents, with our community, and understands the value of that. You can see clearly today with the support that she has here, how much that means to those that have worked with Ms. Smith. So delighted to present to the board GHS Teacher of the Year, Ms. Christy Smith.
This was my mother's. This is from Brazil, because my mother went to high school in Brazil. So this is a way to have my mother here today with me today, because she died 25 years ago.
Very nice to be here. This is my best Teacher of the Year with the apple. And I believe, Mr. Green, you had something additional to say.
Good to have here a Teacher of the Year ring.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for what you did.
You will slide in and we'll try and get a picture.
Okay.
Get this out of the way, Lynn.
Great. Where do I go here?
Yeah, you stand up there and we'll slide in behind you. Mr. Green, you get up. Yeah, okay.
Do I wait so like that? Is it right?
Congratulations.
All right, Mr. Green, if you'd like to go over last year's retirees as well.
Absolutely. Last year, we lost more than 150 years of experience at the high school with the retirement of Miss Sandra Blankenship, who taught English and ESOL, Miss Susan Boland, who taught mathematics, Dr. Mitzi Harmon, who taught ESOL, Miss Karen Jackson, who taught early childhood education, Mr. Dane Robar, who taught chemistry, and Ms. Paula Sawyer, our school nurse. It's a great loss to the system, it's a great loss to the high school, but a couple of them have sent me pictures of themselves on the beach, and they are enjoying their retirement from all that I can tell. So we are eternally grateful for all that they've done, and when you think about 150 years of experience, how many students have been touched by those excellent educators, it's just inspiring. And again, just wish our retirees the very best and appreciate all that they've done for our students.
Thank you, Mr. Stern. Jeremy?
Each year, the Georgia School Board Association opens up the application process to recognize boards of education based on a different level of status. For the last couple of years, our board, Gainesville City Board of Education, has been a quality board. And this past year, although we did have to cancel one conference and transition another one virtually, Gainesville City Board of Education is now being recognized as a distinguished school board. So on behalf of the Georgia School Board Association, Mr. Stewart, Chair Stewart, I present this to you and the board. Thank you.
Obviously, Dr. Williams leads us in the right direction, so this is an award to be shared with him as well. We want one of us to do. Thank you. Next, we have board commendations. I'm going to turn it over to our colleague, Mr. Willie Mitchell, who's going to present a tribute to Miss Perlil Chief Walker. Mr. Mitchell.
Miss Perlil Chief Walker, she began her career with Gainesville City Schools in 1967. The family still has the contract that she signed in April of 1967. She worked for Gainesville City Schools for over 37 years. She has a daughter-in-law, and a son-in-law that worked for Gainesville City Schools. In 1983, she was named the Teacher of the Year at Enola. In her lifetime, she housed over 150 children through DPAS. And personally have known Perlil all my life. When I was a child, I used to play with her. She got a couple brothers about my age, and we used to play in her house on brother now, but back then it was Athens Street. We played there, but the greatest tribute I guess I can give to Ms. Walker is that excuse me, one of the kids that she housed wrote a tribute, said that her family didn't want her. Nobody seemed to love her. Everybody picked on her. Miss Walker took her in, showed all kind of love. In fact, she said that she was an old school teacher that loved people, and said that if anybody stepped up and showed her what it was like to be a Christian, it was Miss Walker. And so that was the greatest tribute I thought, to have somebody that you actually changed their life to say something about you. So at this time, we could have a moment of silence for Ms. Walker.
Mr. Mitchell, thank you. Anybody else have any board commendations?
Just a sad note to report that Frank Norton Sr. passed away today. Our sympathies and prayers are with his family. Frank was a very proud member of the Gainesville High School class of 1946. 1946. So we'll be thinking about his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I believe we have a gift to give Ms. Blankenship.
Yeah.
With everybody having masks on, we don't recognize
That's
people
right.
anymore. So
She
Mr.
doesn't
Green,
look stressed.
Yes, she
does.
Mr. Green, if you could please come back up, and we will give Ms. Blankenship her keepsake of all the time that you put into Gainesville City Schools and just serving our kids. You are definitely missed. Just a little token of our appreciation, and we'd like to get a picture with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we begin our regular business, do we have any members of Leadership Hall here? If so, if you would stand up, tell us your name and tell us your organization. Anyone? None? Youth Leadership Hall? None? Okay. All right.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Got a motion to adopt the agenda by Mr. Smith. We have a second.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Mitchell. All those in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Green, if you'll give us an update on what's going on in Gainesville High.
Yes, sir. I'd like to just start by just ask the board to join with me. GHS teacher, Mr. Jerobius Brown, was just a member of the National Guard and was deployed to our nation's capital. So if you could join me in just wishing for a very uneventful couple of days for him and a safe return. He did ask me if he could Zoom tomorrow. I said probably not a good idea, but we just appreciate him and his service to our nation. It's been a different year, as you may imagine, and I think the best way to highlight it is a very short story I have. We had a core student who was quarantined 3 times, and I had to call that student's mother a 4th time, and she recognized my number, and I said, "Ma'am," she said, "is he being quarantined again?" I said, "No, he's being suspended." And she said, "Thank goodness." No other year would that be received with so much joy. Truly appreciate the support, the wisdom, the counsel of the board, and knowing that you had some very difficult decisions to make. And we appreciate that you backed us, backed our system so that we could host school for over 2,000 students. A special recognition for the work of Ms. Connie Sanders, Ms. Amy Johnson, Beth Kinsey, Sylvia Murillo, who made up our health response team. That news is never easy to tell someone they can't come to school for whatever period they may have been exposed. We don't know how people's lives have been affected by COVID, and so when you're delivering that news, it takes a special person, and they have represented us well. Also want to just shout out the work of the entire staff and faculty overcoming some serious challenges and doing what they do best, adapt and overcome. Special thanks to our cafeteria staff also. We changed protocols. We got 2 different cafeterias. They're pretty tight quarters, and we're running 1,000 students through this cafeteria and 1,200 students through that cafeteria every day, and they made it work. And so appreciate all that they've done. You can see as well on top of the challenges of COVID, we've got a major occupied campus renovation project, and our faculty and staff and students have adjusted to all the changes that this has necessitated. We're running a lot of routes differently than we have done in the past. So to get from CTAE up to the 9th grade center was difficult, but now with the routes being adjusted, it's even more difficult. So we appreciate everyone's patience with that. With all of this going on, COVID, renovations, we have pressed forward in our function of supporting the district, specifically in its mission to inspire, nurture, challenge, and prepare. This year, 222 students have enrolled in at least one dual enrollment class, over 10%. 323 students will take at least 667 AP exams. 645 student athletes, because we started practice today for spring sports, have now participated in a sport. 3 seasons that they said would not happen. We've had 645 student athletes do that, and we have not had to cancel any match because of COVID. And a lot of teams around the state cannot say that. So that's owing to the hard work of our coaches, our athletic director, Adam Lindsay, and the protocols they have in place. We have acceptances into more than 50 colleges and universities so far. The regular decision window is not closed yet. This is early decision. As you know, we had 8 accepted early decision into Georgia Tech, including a number of students who were accepted into the honors program, 17 to UGA through early decision. Again, multiple students accepted into the honors program. And we also have our first Ivy League acceptance, a student who has been accepted to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. So we're very excited about this class and what they're going to go on to do, with lots of exciting college decisions to come, and we'll keep the board posted. We also have 19 December graduates that we will honor in May, but who recently graduated. A couple who graduated early, and a couple who, for whatever reason, needed an extra semester, and we're glad to get them over the finish line. We were also accepted, we received news today that we were accepted to be able to award the International Skills Diploma Seal. This is awarded to graduating high school students who complete an international education curriculum and engage in extracurricular activities and experiences that foster the achievement of global competency. It's a signal to colleges, employers, that a student is prepared to participate in the global economy. We've given the reading inventory twice. We've seen positive growth. The number of students achieving advanced increased by 5%. The number of students achieving below basic decreased by 5%. And overall, we saw a 3% growth rate. African American students grew 12% between the first and second administration in their reading scores. And Hispanic students grew by 5% overall between first and second administration. In athletics, cross country girls team are the whole county champions. Ashley Thompson is the state runner-up. Football made it to the state playoffs, I think for the 21st consecutive year, 20-something at least. Cedric Nicely was offered and signed a letter of intent to Ole Miss. In volleyball, our volleyball team is the whole county champions. Basketball, boys and girls team swept and won Lanierland, the boys doing it for the 5th time. And our wrestling team just qualified for the state dual sectionals this week. Want to highlight the support that we continue to receive from the North Georgia Community Foundation. Recently informed of 2 new scholarships. One was endowed by Wayne Jessup, who both of his children attended Gainesville High School, and his grandchildren attend Gainesville High School. And in memory of his wife, Susan, who was a teacher, I think, with Gainesville City Schools. He has endowed a scholarship with the North Georgia Community Foundation. They will award $3,500 per year to a student. In addition, Sean Watson has established the Sean Watson Scholarship through the North Georgia Community Foundation. 2 scholarships to be awarded for $2,500, as well as donating the proceeds from the NFL Foundation's Pro Bowl to Gainesville High School. I highlight those 2 because they're the 2 newest endowed scholarships, but also recognize that we have many significant supporters that provide our students with opportunities to access higher education that they may not ordinarily have. That is my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Green? Thank you, Mr. Green.
Question about the international seal.
Yes, sir.
Is that an actual seal that can go on diplomas, or is that a medal? Or
Yes, sir.
how will they be?
It is a seal that can go on diplomas, and it's recognized at the state level.
Very good.
Mr. Green, if and when, because I know, I should say when you get your list of college acceptances grows, please make sure that the boards and central office know so that we toot our horns.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion on the approval of the minutes?
Motion to approve Romans 5 and 6.
We got a motion by Mr. Smith to approve the minutes and the consent agenda. Do I hear a second? Got a second by Dr. Ramsey. All those in favor? All right, the superintendent's report, Dr. Williams.
Yeah, I just want to give you an update on a few different items right now as they stand. Today was our first day back with some of our students physically in the buildings. I was able to make it around to almost all the elementary schools this morning. Our staff absences were very low today, as anticipated, because of the delay that it took for us to do a return to school. Today, we saw our self-contained special education students. We also saw our pre-K through second grade students return. As a father of a second grader, last week and a half was definitely busy with a lot of Zooms. I asked him today, I said, which one do you prefer? He said, put me in the class any day. And so I don't know if it's because I couldn't help him as much on the Zoom as he probably had hoped, but definitely his teacher does a fantastic job, as all of our teachers do, when they're in that face-to-face environment, which is our goal. Our goal right now, depending on how the numbers continue to look throughout the rest of this week, is to return almost all of our students back on Monday, especially 3rd through 8th grade students. Part of the reason is, and the delay at the high school, is next Tuesday is the PSAT. Part of the conversation Mr. Green and I had regarding the PSAT is, do you bring the high school students back for a day on Monday, and then on Tuesday, you've got almost half the school taking the PSAT, and schedules are different, and it's just a different scheduled day, or do you wait till Wednesday to bring the high school students back? So our plan right now, and we'll communicate more and more as the week progresses, if we're able to maintain this plan, is that all of our students grades 3 through 8 will return on Monday, followed by all of our high school students on Wednesday, with the caveat being that we will provide transportation for our students that are needing to take the PSAT on Tuesday. So Mr. Green and his team would work with the teachers and the staff on Monday to ensure that the plan for Tuesday is ready to go. Mr. Green, anything you'd like to share related to that, or have I covered it fairly well?
You covered it pretty well, sir. We're sending out a communication for a sign-up for families this evening, if not first thing tomorrow morning, and we'll use that to determine coverage that's needed.
How many students do you anticipate for the PSA? Just in the
PSAT is all 10th graders.
It is all 10th graders, but I don't anticipate that every 10th grader will show.
And then you have select 9th graders and select 11th graders that may be taking it for national merit purposes and some others.
And will those test proctors spread all over the building?
Yes, sir. That's part of the reason that we wanted to do it on Tuesday without the other students here, so we could do small group testing.
Mainly from a coverage standpoint.
Yes.
So that's a big part of our plan as we come back. Also, if you drive out McKellar Road, you'll notice that work continues to be completed on the new middle school. There is committee work that has continued over the last few months. We look forward to bringing the recommendations to the board in February or probably early March regarding attendance zones, the mascot, and then how we move forward with public input on the name of the school. So looking forward to sharing that with you as it comes forward. Also, one thing that was a bit in the news quite a bit last week, and you might have received some questions about it, was in the governor's address. He did mention the $1,000 bonus really in there for educators and many people that are school-based. The one thing that we do have to consider is that we still have a long legislative session ahead of us. So that's going to be batted around a little bit, but we also have to remember that we do have federal taxes, state taxes, as well as TRS that has to come out of that. So there's still a lot of discussion that will be happening at the state level. As more of it is available to us, we will definitely be sharing that with our employees and engaging them as well. So just really appreciate that conversation that started last week at the state level. Last thing on my brief report today, if you recall, every time we start back to school, the school choice forms begin to go out rather quickly. We hope to get those out in the next couple of weeks once all of our students do return to school. And so that way we can start our projections for next year, our teacher allotments for next year, and know which students will be changing schools going into next year based on our school choice forms. So if there are no further questions, Mr. Chair, that's my report.
Okay, continuing with you, Dr. Williams, if you will discuss the signing of the code of ethics and the conflict of interest.
We do this every January. Ms. Lizette has in your folder over there at your spot at the table, the code of ethics that is required every year to sign off on, as well as the conflict of interest. So if you'll make sure you sign that for us so we can keep it for our records as we move throughout this year. And we'll do it again next January as well.
All right, we'll move on to action items. It looks like, Dr. Williams, you have items 1 through 3 and possibly item 6 as well. If you'd like to start with the Rucker Hall designation in the Advanced Study Center.
Yeah, I'd be glad to move forward. Back in December, we had Mr. Ricky Young, who represented Beulah Rucker Foundation and Museum, talk a lot about her impact in our community. And we were able to just have discussions before that and after that. And as the Advanced Study Center continues to be finalized, we thought what better way would it be to honor, to memorialize her legacy in naming that first floor after Miss Beulah Rucker. We would be working with the family on that space. We would be working with the design group of how to bring in photos, artifacts, and just kind of the timeline of the impact she's made in our community. With the campus and what is going on around the campus, we hope to expand and name other parts of buildings around people who've been dedicated to a field that has gone to enrich the lives of people in Gainesville and Hall County. And so I make the recommendation that we designate that lower floor at the Advanced Study Center in memory of Miss Beulah Rucker.
Do we have any questions, comments? Have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Smith, do we have a second? Mr. Mitchell. Motion by Mr. Mitchell. Second. Got a second by Mr. Smith. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries.
I would like to say, Mr. Chair, that we will continue to work with the family. As I mentioned, our target is still opening this building in August. So it's right around the corner. You can tell, as Mr. Green mentioned before, there's a lot of construction going on. We invite the public to definitely, we haven't been by the high school campus, especially over the last few months. It looks very different than it did 6 months ago. So please drive by, check out the work that's going on. Just really looking forward to taking that idea of the Advanced Studies Center and how we're bringing it into just kind of a new generation. So thank you all.
All right, Dr. Williams, item number 2 is the 21-22 Gainesville City Schools student teacher calendar.
This time each year, we bring a calendar forward that has 190 days for staff and fewer for students as met by the requirement or an equivalency of that. We put 3 options out to our employees as well as our school governance councils a few months ago. The top option, which was option A, received 55% of the vote. Option C had 35%, and then option B actually had 10%. And so I bring forward a calendar that looks similar to how we had to adjust this year. We have to be very realistic in the fact that COVID will not be entirely gone. And so what we would like to do is, instead of having a traditional calendar as we've had in year past, have a calendar that has some similarities to what we did this year, which was the extended open house. If you recall, in previous years, open house would be 3 hours, and we would have 800 kids and their families come into a school for 3 hours. We can't do that now. And so this calendar breaks open house up to 3 days after we've had 4 days of pre-planning, and then it brings half of our students back into the school for 2 days, and then the remainder of those students 2 days later. And so it's kind of a very intentional approach to bring our new students in the new buildings on board slower than everyone else, but also give our employees the opportunity to meet with families in a more personalized environment than the rush of the typical open house. And so this was the calendar preferred by our employees as well as the school governance councils.
Motion to accept.
Got a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A second by Dr. Manchin. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. The proposed legislative amendment, Dr. Williams, if you'll give us a background on that.
Background on this is our school system and the way we operate has really not been updated in quite some time. And it's been one rendition after another, but this is an attempt for us to move forward with the legislative proposal to pull all of that together in a very clean document that allows us as a school system to function in a way that provides more clarity, as opposed to trying to piecemeal a few different amendments together from previous years. And so you will notice all of this is pulled together through various sections. Almost all of it is consistent with the way it is now. There have just been a few minor changes regarding some times and specificity that you as a board responded to on a survey that we sent out. And so I make the recommendation to bring this legislative amendment forward. It would include us then signing off that it has been approved, as well as running an ad and then getting it to our local legislation so we can get it through the legislative process.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
got a second by Mr. Nordholz. Any questions or comments of Dr. Wood?
And all, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, we are asking, Chairman Hawkins to take the lead
Okay.
on this.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Mrs. Pepper, if you will present us to the November 2020 and December 2020 financial statements.
Good evening. First statement I have for you for November 2020. Our revenues for the month were 13.1 million, and our expenditures are 5.8 million. Our year-to-date revenues are a little over 30 million, and our year-to-date expenditures are 31.3 million. Our ending fund balance is 18.7 million. This is, last year we were at 20.6 million, but keep in mind, we did have the state rep this year, so that is one, the biggest reason for our lower fund balance this year. But our level of expenditure, as far as percentage wise, is right on target. And lots of receipts for the month of November, was $801,926. So that continues to be very good. Any questions on November? December, our monthly revenues are 15.3, expenditures at 5.8. Our ending fund balance was 28.24, and again, we had a very nice, where we anticipate to receive, property tax revenues in December of 12 million. So that, brought up our ending fund balance up, and last year we were at 29.4 million, and our revenues, and expenditures are right where we anticipate to be around 53%. So, nothing out of the ordinary there.
The part I like to see is we know that this being December, we're halfway through the year. We get our expenditures at 49.2%, which is a testament to a lot of the front loading we had to do at the beginning of the year to order supplies and get things going. Our schools have done a great job of just maintaining the need that is there. And so Ms. Beth and her team have done a great job halfway through the year, knowing that we had some cuts going into the year. I feel good about where we are. And also November, December, balancing the beginning of the audit or finalizing the audit. So she and her team have been very busy over the last couple of months, but I feel like we are in good shape.
And on the revenue side in December, specifically the ad valorem taxes is the amount that we've collected for the first half of the year, pretty consistent with what we
We're
said.
at around 80%, but that's pretty much right on target for November last year. So it will be, coming in at a slower stream now, but that's pretty much on target. No surprises there. So for December, our plus receipts were at 769,000. So that was a little bit under, but still very good.
Board, when you look at the SPLOST receipts as a whole, you can tell that we did have that dip that we anticipated back in April, which was the March collection. But when you look overall as a whole, we were up almost $900,000 compared to last year. Now, 400,000 of that was that kind of audit adjustment. So you're still $500,000 higher than we were the previous year. And so that amount coming in goes into a SPLOST excess fund that we continue to set aside and need from architecture fees and some other payments. And as more projects become available, we have the funds there to do that. So we're in a great position. You look at 2 years ago, 1.4 million more than we were 2 years ago. And a lot of our projections were based on, I believe, around 650 or so thousand a month on SPOS collections. And we're well above that now. So we're just very proud of the community spending money here in the county. The partnership we have with Hall County Schools as far as how some of that money is dispersed. But this goes a testament to how well we fared through a lot of the COVID that has hit our community.
Yeah, some pretty exciting when those payments that Dr. Williams referring to, the largest thing being, of course, our bond and interest payment coming out of the process.
Kelly, how many years have you been director of finance?
It will be
He's
4.
finishing up year 4.
Yeah.
I was told that this, East Moss revenue is double from 4 years ago. Am I correct? It's now double.
Not sure it's quite double, but.
Close,
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. Very.
And you can keep in mind, Ward, when we projected out the buildings that you see here at the high school and the new middle school, we really did not project a lot of growth because we wanted to ensure that if things did drop, we could still make those payments. So our monthly payment to our future debt is going to come out to $420,000, $450,000, I believe, somewhere in that range, and we're well above that. So we're really looking forward to being able to have excess funds to still continue other projects beyond just those committed to the bond.
All right, do we have any other questions or comments from Mrs. Bethel? Do we have a motion to accept both reports?
Motion to accept.
A motion by Mr. Smith, got a second by Dr. Ramsey. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I did have a couple of just other things, reminders for employees that we do have an early pay date, this Friday for January 22nd. And also we will be issuing, employee registries this week, so probably, before the end of the week.
Will those be electronic for the most part?
They will be, and they'll also be available, under employee self-service. And also, anytime an employee needs it, we can also send it, paper, any other method that they need. So they'll be electronic.
Thank you, Mrs. Bethel. Dr. Williams, I'm assuming you will play the part.
Yeah, Mr. Niles is not able to be here with us tonight. I will fill in for him, but I will not fill in for the reverend side of Mr. Niles tonight. The new middle school, as it comes on board, we did an RFP out regarding utility services and the electrical power service supplier for the new middle school. In both cases, that meant we had two, one being Jackson EMC, the other being Georgia Power. We have a history with both. We have a longer history with Georgia Power just because of the area, but we also have a new relationship with Jackson EMC because of Monday Mill. Been very pleased with the relationship there. Mr. Niles and his team, when they reviewed the bids coming in, they were all neck and neck up until one area, and that area was the 10-year projected cost for those services. And so the difference being that Georgia Power is being recommended as the electrical power service supplier for the new middle school based on the quotes in front of you and the information that was presented during the rubric process.
Do we have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I will abstain because of conflict.
I've got a extension by Mr. Smith. Do we have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Mitchell. Do we hear a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Nordholm. All those in favor? Got 4, and 1 abstain. Are there any discussion items?
I just have one, can you deal with no notice, can you give us a quick update on the status of all those Chromebooks that we've purchased and that you have, helped distribute?
We have distributed the 4,000 Chromebooks from our initial purchase, which dates all the way back to May. The second purchase, which we initiated in October, we have not yet received those Chromebooks. We have an anticipated arrival of March, so it's going to be just a little longer before we can distribute those. We have taken Chromebooks from the middle school and the high school now that we have new ones in place, and taken those and placed them at all of the elementary schools to help supplement in the meantime.
We had a great response rate for the week and a half that we had a lot of our pre-K to second grade students regarding the devices. I was very pleased. We had quite a few principals who said we had 100% participation in some classes, but it looked to be around that 75 to 80% participation in those live Zooms that we saw at the elementary level. At middle and high, since they all had devices, they had used those throughout, and participation was great. It was a challenge, I think, on high school, because being on a 4x4 block, you're starting with a whole new set of classes, a whole new set of teachers, which is why we want to get our kids back as soon as possible, so they can, if they've not heard from students, this will allow them to make those connections.
On the shipment for March, will those go out or will we hold those till August?
We have not made that determination yet. Typically, we plan to pick up Chromebooks at the end of each year so that if there are any repairs that need to take place, we can do that over the summer and then reissue them. If it arrived early by any chance, we might go ahead and issue them out. We're just going to have to make that determination once we have a clear picture on a delivery date, and we do not have that at this time.
Any other discussion items? You're having a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion by Mr. Smith. Second. A second by Mr. Nordholt. All those in favor? Y'all have a good evening.